Now, have you ever considered trading your executive suite or that office for the thrilling roller coaster of entrepreneurship? Or maybe you're thinking of swapping the nonprofit boardroom or organization that you're in for a chance to create your own mission driven enterprise. What if I told you that there are lots of moving parts into making that transition, but your years of leadership experience, whether in the corporate sector, healthcare, you're in the nonprofit world, could be the secret ingredient to easily going into your next big adventure, a professional renovation, reinvention, seeing yourself in the business sector, starting your own business. So I'm Dr. Geneva, top leadership voice on LinkedIn and founder of Dr. Geneva Speaks. And I help women leaders who are in midlife, who feel uncertain about their next steps, navigate major life changes, and confidently plan their future. And today, one of the things that many of you probably think about is, well, what could I do next? Or I have this passion and I really want to perhaps think about starting a business. Well, today, I want to share with you the things you need to think about if you're contemplating leaving behind your W 2 employee security to pivot into that roller coaster of entrepreneurship. Because while startup ownership promises alluring freedoms like autonomy, creativity, purpose, it also can stir up some financial fears and self doubt. And you might find yourself going back and forth between the appeal and the anxiety and asking yourself, now, am I ready for this or is this just a fantasy? And you've got a superpower, your hard earned wisdom. And it can help you create that business that really thrives and aligns with your deepest passions. Now, if any of you are at that point, in fact, let me know in the chat how many of you are thinking about making that move from wherever you are now into starting your business, or perhaps you've just started your business and you're in the throes of a startup. I just want to acknowledge that I know that it's a big change. And this significant change can feel both exciting and daunting. And oftentimes, it's not just about starting a business, it really has a lot to do with reimagining your entire professional identity and embracing a new way of life. So, before we start, I want you to know that I truly understand what a major move that this is and how it does require courage and vision and this willingness to step out of your comfort zone. But here's the exciting thing that I want to say to you. You're not starting from scratch. It may feel like it is. You're starting from experience. And this kind of transition can be a unique opportunity to leverage your wealth of knowledge and skills and insights that you've accumulated over your career. So think about that. Every challenge you've faced, every team you've led, every problem you've solved, every decision you've made, all of that is valuable currency in the entrepreneurial world. Okay. And this journey isn't just about this professional growth or reinventing your professional life. deeply personal too. And so I want you to know I understand it. And it's personal, particularly because you're aligning your work and what you want to do with your values, you're pursuing your passions, and you really are creating a legacy that truly reflects who you are. So this is personal. And you're rewriting your next chapter of your life story when and if you make this transition. But I don't want to sugarcoat it. It is and can be very challenging. There'll be moments of uncertainty and doubt. But you're not alone in this journey. Many have walked this path before and still are surviving, thriving, doing wonderful things. I myself am a late life entrepreneur. In my 60s, I decided to leave the nonprofit world where I was a top executive, ran multi-million dollar organizations, led community initiatives, raised lots of money for charitable and business causes. I decided to leave that and pursue a lifelong dream I had about starting my own thing, my own business. And there was a lot of uncertainty in that. And even though I had dreamed about it and had this passion for it, there was that doubt that'd be creeping in and it would happen. And it's interesting because along with that uncertainty and doubt was excitement and the realization that I was getting closer to my passion. So, this yin and yang of emotions is definitely there. And it's going to be there. It's part of the journey, it's part of the process. Now, I'm glad I took the leap. It wasn't easy, but I'm glad I took the leap because today my business is booming. I'm successful, but more importantly, and the reason I started my business, I am helping other women who, in their midlife, in so called later in life, want to pursue their passions and need help in planning that future, in figuring out those next steps. And so I'm thrilled with what I've been doing. And one of the things that I think it's important for us to remember in this conversation about moving into entrepreneurship from wherever you are is that women owning, running businesses is on the rise. We know that at least 40% of all businesses are owned by women, and that number continues to grow, which means there's an upward trend. And this is exciting progress, but it also suggests with just 40 some percent that there's room to grow for female entrepreneurship. And so join this inspiring movement if you're interested in doing that, this growing community of women who are reshaping the business landscape. Now, I want to get real. You've got the experience, you've got the dream, there's room for you in this entrepreneurial landscape. So, what's next? How do you actually make that leap? And that's what I wanted to share with you, the insights that I've gained from making this leap from one industry to a completely different one at later in my life stage, in those middle years when lots of people were telling me, girl, what you doing? You need to sit down and retire and you too old. I bust that myth because it's never too late to pursue your dream. But I've been there before and I've helped countless others do it. In fact, I did a series of trainings, national trainings for AARP, and we really got into and looked at this whole phenomena of people, especially women over 50, who are starting these businesses and how to do it. So, anyway, I've got these insights, these five that I want to share with you. There's lots of different stuff, but these are my kind of gems that I want to make sure that you know about and perhaps haven't heard before. And they're going to help you leverage your executive experience also while developing the entrepreneurial mindset that you need. And so before we get started, I wanted to remind you again, next week we'll be on live at noon because we've got something for all of you who consider yourself to be introverts and struggle with networking. Maria Malik, a superstar in the leadership and introvert world, and myself. And I'm one of my expertise lines is about networking. We're going to join forces and we're going to bring together some real gems for you. So join us. If you've got any questions as we go along in the lessons, please leave them in the comments. I'll try to get to as many as we can, but I want you to know that sometimes as I'm streaming, I don't pick up all the comments, but I will circle back to them and answer them late afterwards. So let's go. The first insight that I want to share with you, if you're contemplating moving from your executive or leadership role into starting a business, is to learn from your past wins and make a plan. Mhm. So you've had tough times, and I want you to think back on those tough times and obstacles you faced in your previous roles. Now, they're just not hurdles that you got over, but each and every one of them is a valuable lesson. And the reason I want you to think about that, reflect on that, remember what you did, how you felt, is because when you step into entrepreneurship, you're going to face a whole slew of new hurdles, obstacles, and challenges. And that is the life of an entrepreneur. Every day is something new. It's a roller coaster. Okay. It's not the, regular, you go to work, you find it, at your job, it's the same folk, the similar tasks. There's a routine to it. When you step into that world of starting your own business, every day is something new. Every day there's some new problem to solve, money to try to get, vendors to work with, new people to meet. It's a lot of different challenges. But one of the things you can do, particularly for those of you who are in your midlife, because you've come through so much, remember your past successes in overcoming difficulties and let them guide your way and your ability to handle future obstacles and make a plan. So you're going to remember the things that you've done and how you've been successful, the tactics and actions you've used, and you're going to make a plan because creating a plan, the goals, the action steps that you can take, thinking about your resources, all of that goes into the planning process is so important. This is an insight that I found to be so useful because I was told, my husband happened to be a entrepreneur for years. He ran his own business, and he always would say to me, well, when you become an entrepreneur, when you start your own business, it's a whole new world. You don't know nothing about it. You're going to have to start from scratch, etc. Well, I found out, as much as I loved him dearly, and he gave me great advice, that wasn't true. I thought it was, but when I really took the time to sit down and think about what I had done and my transferable skills and the way I had come through a lot of challenges and made a plan and actually sat down and was intentional, I found lots of wisdom and lots of things I could carry into this new world. The second insight that I want to share with you as you're considering moving into the world of entrepreneurship and starting your own business, or perhaps you've just started a business, is to price your worth right. I have to say that slowly so I can be very clear with what I'm saying. Price your worth right. Many of us tend to underprice ourselves when we're starting out. It ranges everything from, I'm new at this, I'm kind of scared. Do you think I can ask for this kind of money? All of that. And it does take time sometimes to assess the full range of expertise, skills, and unique insights that you offer. But what I'm suggesting to you is that before you jump out there, that you price your value right, that you take the time to assess all of your expertise, your skills, everything you have to offer. And don't just charge for the obvious services, also consider the high level value clients will receive because of your depth of experience. So you can, Google and find out what um, comparable services might be worth what people are charging, etc. But don't stop there. You then have to add on the value that you bring because of the depth of your experience. And I want you to have confidence in your worth and don't sell yourself short. The flip side of that coin, when you're thinking about pricing your value right, is to manage your current money, your current finances. Because trust, if you was in that world where you were W-2 and you were getting that check every couple weeks or once a month or whatever that regular pay was, that ain't gonna happen when you step into starting your own business. So it's important that you manage your current finances and you crunch the numbers and you create budgets and projections and you determine what the funding is going to look like, and what you're going to need to avoid those high risk times and the ups and downs. And the thing that I want to tell you is to think about how you can do some test driving projects and kind of test stuff before perhaps you step completely out while you're still in your full-time executive nonprofit healthcare agency role. You can test things out or make transitions. Think about your transitions. I remember as I was making this move from the world that I had been in so long as an employee, I worked out an arrangement with my organization that they became my first consultant client, so that I was able to make that transition in an easier way. And so think about where you are now. You're probably considered very valuable. You have that value. And think about, well, there might be a transition period that I can create while I can still keep my full-time income or part of my income as I start my new business. So whatever you do, the money thing, you have to really look at to price yourself right and to make sure that you're stepping out on some solid grounds in terms of your finances, because it will get rocky. The third insight I'd like to invite you to think about as you're considering a move from executive to entrepreneur, starting your own business, is to activate your allies. So what I mean by this is that you've nurtured connections throughout your career, and those connections are gold. They are such assets. And I want you to tap into those bonds, those relationships, rejuvenate old connections, old ties, and share your journey, what you're thinking about doing with those folk who've been with you, who've been allies of yours, because they probably will trust you, know you, and like you, even as you moving into your next phase and starting a business. And so don't forget those friends and referrals and I mean those friends and colleagues, because they can become referrals and opportunities. You see what I'm saying? If you agree with that, if you use this as a technique, let me say yes, yes, yes. This is a good one to activate your allies. And remember that as create these relationships and have created these relationships throughout your career, I'm sure they really started from authentic dialogue, that these people that you who know, like, and trust you, and you feel the same way about them, the relationship is authentic. So sharing that, sharing your passions, your dreams, what it is you want to do, what you're thinking about, is a natural. You need to do that. If you are finding value in these insights that I'm sharing so far, please, DM me if you want to explore this further, or there's a QR code that is right there on the screen for my friends on TikTok. You could go underneath my photo and connect with me or send me a DM. The fourth insight that I want to share with you from my own experience and also working with hundreds of individuals, particularly women who want to and have stepped from the boardroom, the executive suite, their office, into starting a business, is to curate your own mastermind. Mm. So, what do I mean about that? One of the things that I learned was being an entrepreneur and running my own business, that having a group of people who I trusted, who on a regular basis could provide me with invaluable guidance and expertise and support, was incredible. And a regular group of folk that I could turn to when I had problems or issues or just needed some, kind and encouraging words. And pulling those folk together or talking to them individually or in small groups was incredible. And what I learned was that I could create my own mastermind group, my own board of directors, my own council of advisors, with people from different, various backgrounds who could offer me insight and perspective. And this is something that has been, I really, looking back, I couldn't have done it, couldn't have become successful in my own business without it. And I encourage you to do this and to think about it. And you can create it yourself. It's your own mastermind group. And carefully select people who can help you in areas where perhaps you're not as strong in, or you don't have connections in, people who you admire, who you see being successful in the field you want to be in. et cetera, et cetera. You can develop your own criteria for who you would ask to come be your mastermind group, and think about different ways to interact with these individuals. You can do one-on-one, but what I did in the beginning was I actually convened this group of folk and talked to them, brought up the concerns I was having, made clear they understood my dreams, asked for their advice. And with this group of 4 or 5 people, the energy and the information and the guidance and support and the exchange, you know what happens in masterminds. I'm sure you're familiar with it, with that process. Well, having my own, and you can think about it, I thought about it like my own council of advisors, but it was even more because bringing them together created this pool of information that was invaluable and I couldn't get anywhere else. And so I created this group and kept it going for the first 2 or 3 years of my business and still have it going on today. So it's something that I'd like you to think about, and I invite you to try it, something a little different. And then the fifth um, insight that I'd like to leave with you and want you to consider as something that's important to do as you move into starting your own business. How you doing? I'm just seeing all my friends on TikTok. How you doing? Good to see you. That the fifth strategy is to stay flexible and take care of yourself. Mhm. You know, I one of the insights I gave you was to make a plan. I absolutely believe that. And you'll say to me, "Oh, yeah, we know that, Dr. Geneva. You need a business plan." Well, I believe a business plan is essential, but that's not the kind of plan I was talking about. It's partly a business plan, but it's also a personal plan, a professional reinvention plan, thinking about yourself, your dream, the actions, all of that, a step by step process that you'd go through when you made that transition. And I think that having that plan is important. And you need to be flexible when the plan doesn't work or when something happens in the plan and you have to pivot. Like, how many of us had plans? I was one. Many of us do, and you've heard stories all around when the pandemic hit, when COVID hit. The thing was pivoting. That became the great business strategy, pivoting. And so we've learned that it's important to be flexible with your plan. I even recommend these days to the women leaders I work with who are contemplating, living out their passion through a business, that you have several strategies in your plan so that you work through several scenarios. Well, if this is what I want to do, if certain things don't work out with this is my next plan or plan B or my scenario. And then I also want to consider something else so that you have different strategies. But the point is, however you do that, it's important to be flexible and to take care of yourself during this process because it can be very stressful. And the one thing about it is when you start a business, your brand, you the face of the business, the business brand is you. Okay. So you have to take care of yourself. You have to look good. You have to feel good so you can do good in your business. So be flexible, take care of yourself, and understand that it's beneficial to be able to be agile and willing to modify your approach and change things based on new information to test approaches, to be willing to look at data and be critical in analyzing, well, what's actually happening. And that is so important rather than rigidly adhering to an outdated plan or a plan that's not working. All right, there you have it. Those are the 5 insights I wanted to share with you to take you from the corner office or the executive suite, your agency, to startup success, the things you need to think about. But here's the thing. Knowing or being aware of these insights isn't really enough. You've got to remember the gap between where you are and where you want to be. How do you close that gap? It's by what you do. Now, that gap isn't as wide as you think. It really is just one decision away, one bold move, one yes to yourself. So here's what I want you to do right now. I'd like you to think about one of these insights, the strategies I've talked about, just one, and perhaps commit to taking action on it in the next 24 hours. Not next week, not when you feel ready, now. Because here's the truth, there will never be a perfect time to make the leap. But right now is always the perfect time to start. So your next chapter can start right now. We want to make that next chapter a bestseller. So go out there and do it. All right. So that concludes the information I wanted to share with you, the insights, the value I wanted to bring with you. Have you found this helpful? Let me know in the comments. Also, let me know what other topics you want to talk about or you'd like me to share with you. I want to check out to see if we have questions. Hey, Dr. Pierre. Experts. She calls, oh, I love it, the experts tribe. Yes, the group of people be open and honest. That's right. It is important. So whether you have an experts tribe or your own mastermind or your council of advisors or your board of directors, the point is to have a group of people who you can talk to, who can rely on, who be honest and authentic with you and give you back advice. Thank you so much, Dr. Pierre, for sharing that as well. And I know you've had great experience and we're loving it, loving it. Just looking for, are there any other comments? Thank you, Sean, for being with us today. I'm glad you found it helpful. And hey, Speakers Magazine, how you doing? I'm so glad. That's Pam Perry, Speakers Magazine, the PR guru. Glad to see you joining. And oh, yes, so many comments. Yes, thank you. Yes, happy 4th of July. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, LinkedIn user. All of you, what y'all gonna do for the 4th? You got big plans? Good to see you. My TikTok friends, I see Micah from Detroit. I see Brenda. I see all of you there. Thank you for joining me. And listen, I think we're going to close again. Remember, next Wednesday, for all you introverts, those of you who believe that you can't network, that you can't establish new relationships, who feel anxious and full of anxiety when it comes to networking, got the solutions, got some gems, got some insights, got some practical strategies for you next Wednesday at noon. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to noon because my guest, Maria, is from California. She out there on the West Coast. So I asked her, I said, Maria, we can start at 9. She said, girl, that's going to be 6 o'clock in the morning. I said, no, you don't have to do that. Let's make it great for it because the information we're going to be bringing you is so valuable. Tell your friends. We'll see you next week, next Wednesday. Again, if you want to connect with me, DM me. I'm on all social media platforms or got my QR code up here. Um, so you can connect with me at any time that you want. Love you. See you soon. Have a great 4th of July. Bye.